because I actually went through a phase after Trump's election where I was a Tim Pool, Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson simp. It's funny because I hadn't heard of you until later on, but everybody knew about Ben Shapiro, right? Watch Ben Shapiro dunk on this person. So you start watching some Ben Shapiro videos, and then it introduces you to Tim Pool.
Wait, but you were actually like conservative-ish? Jordan Peterson thinking that he could prepare for a debate against Zizek by just reading the Communist Manifesto is probably one of the greatest examples of stupidity I've ever seen in my entire life.
So we're about to watch the confirmation of our next defense secretary, a man who is eminently qualified because he was a Fox News host on the weekends.
Well, he also has an extensive military history as well.
He is a decorated combat veteran. That is true.
Army National Guard for 2 years?
Yeah.
1 year? 2 years?
2, 1, 2, doesn't matter. But listen, decorated veteran, right? Listen, to be sure. But yeah, Weekend Fox and Friends host. He ran a veterans organization, kind of ran it into the ground. He's really big with Trump. He hates women serving in the military. He's going to like purge the military of the DEI,
which is good because I think we're really up on recruits right now, right? I think we're doing really well for membership in the military. And
we're actually turning people away. We have a surplus. We're like, listen, we have too many people.
Just like our budget's going to be in a surplus sometime in the next 4 years, I'm sure. Maybe all 4 years, you think?
100%. Yeah. Because
I was trying to bet with somebody else. Do you think that are we going to have a budget surplus for 3 years or 4 years? Like, I don't know if we have to give Trump like a year and a half to turn it around. Or...
No, well, we did the first time, but because he's been president already, remember, he understands Washington far better now than he ever did. Right. So like as soon as hits the ground running.
They might amend last year's budget to be a 100%. Surplus because of how efficient he's going to run the government.
Yeah, he's just really a beacon of it. It's truly remarkable to see the changes that he's going to bring to this country. I mean, just flying right out the gate. But yeah, this is one of his more controversial nominees, and yet it's currently on track to go through.
Well, that's because you said one of his more controversial nominees. Well, this is one of his most controversial nominees, right?
Yeah, I would
say.
Yeah, I would say the only one that definitively, I think
there's two.
I think there's one definitive, one debatable.
Which one is debatable? Kash or
Kash Patel is definitive.
Okay. You think Tulsi is debatable?
Well, so
is it because she's a Russian asset, not a Chinese asset, or what's the?
So listen, I think that you could easily make the case that she is more controversial than Hegseth, but to me, Kash Patel, there's no debate. Like, to me, these are the top three right here. And he can only afford to lose 3 Republicans, but I think all of them are going to go through. That's the current reporting on it, that there's no Republican willing to buck Trump on this. And by the way, who wants to be that one, I don't know if we can curse, this one asshole, who's going to be the one asshole Republican who's like, no, I'm not voting for him, but you can't get 2 others. And so you're just the odd man out. You know what I'm saying? Like,
aren't there always I know when it comes to legislation, I only know this because I used to be a big libertarian, like Ron Paul would always be the guy voting no on everything. But I don't think he would ever be like the tiebreaker vote. So maybe Rand Paul will.
I don't know, man. I mean, I by the way, bold of you to admit your cringe libertarian past. Do you feel bad about that?
You're literally from the South. Do you feel bad about that? Do you feel bad about slavery?
I'm from Kentucky. Listen, I was born in Pennsylvania, spent most of my life in Kentucky, but because I was born in Pennsylvania, I can claim the moral superiority of the Union.
You do not sound like you're from Pennsylvania.
What are you talking about? I have no Southern accent, no discernible accent whatsoever. And by the way, don't you have Kentucky roots too, asshole?
Kentucky roots, sure.
Yeah.
You don't know what the apple was grown once it's fallen from the tree, though, right?
Listen, I don't want to hear it. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we're both equally Kentucky. This is the pot calling the kettle black.
Well, at least one of us is a pot, one of us is a kettle. So I'll let the audience sort that one out.
Listen,
that's a deep.
He's just being sassy this morning, people.
We're really going to find out if those cabinet chairs do anything, huh?
Well,
that's where we really find out. I think the next 4 years is, do these cabinet guys actually do anything? Because if they do, whew.
It is interesting. So, throughout most of American history, they weren't just like ceremonial figureheads. I mean, obviously, I imagine when you're talking about an organization like the DoD, it's like 2 million people, $800 billion budget, something like that. I don't know how active the Secretary of Defense is on a day-to-day level, but reportedly in the second Trump administration, they're going to be running basically everything out of the White House under Stephen Miller and people like that. So that's a good point. Is it even more so than usual? They're just going to be attention-getting figureheads, and Trump's going to have a death grip on everything. I don't know. But does it really matter?
Am I lying, or did I read an article yesterday saying that Trump's incoming senior advisors or whatever were asking people in the White House who they'd voted for?
Bro. I mean, isn't that? I mean, I wish Pisco were here for this, but isn't that illegal?
Wait, you mentioned something you wanted to chat about. Apparently they're in the works for some new Israeli Hamas peace deal. Wasn't there also a Trump envoy for those discussions as well?
Yeah, Steve Witkoff.
Why is that allowed? That we just don't. That just doesn't matter anymore, I guess. Yeah, we just don't care about that, I guess.
I don't know to what extent this violates the Logan Act, because I believe that Wickoff or whatever was actually invited by the Biden administration to participate.
Oh, in that case,
on the basis that whatever deal they eke out, the Trump administration is going to have to enforce it. But yeah, like that's kind of, and that's not my area of expertise at all. So like I'm over here like reading this like, holy shit, is this actually going to happen? Because reportedly they're going to release like 33 of the 94 hostages. But I mean, who knows, man? There's so much news could be breaking today. Defense Secretary confirmed, peace in the Middle East.
Again,
right?
Wow. How many times can Donald Trump create peace in the Middle East?
As many times as he's in office.
My God,
for the rest of his life.
Maybe for the rest of all of our lives, depending on how things go. I mean,
genetically, he'll probably live out all even though he's like
he
has a shitty diet. Like,
didn't he say he had America encoded in his DNA or something? Is that what his doctor said?
He's pretty fucking patriotic.
He said something. His doctor said something about how he has good genes. I remember this like 7 years ago.
I wouldn't be surprised, but the doctor that I'm thinking of is that Ronnie Jackson guy who serves in Congress now as a Republican. But believe it or not, this asshole used to be the personal physician to President Obama. And then he became the personal physician to Trump, and then he ran for Congress. This dude is a lunatic. There's something about Trumpism that even if you're a respected physician, like you just lose your brain along the way. Like you just have to sacrifice all your credibility.
Maybe. Yeah. My chat's reminding me of the quote. It's. I think it was like something along the lines of like, it's not DNA, it's USA. Something. He said something stupid like that. Yeah, this is a long time ago though.
That's stupid shit. God. Oh. And he's not even in office yet, man. I mean, this is.
I know that's the biggest thing. Yeah, he's not even president yet.
The exhaustion you feel already.
Or maybe that's a good thing because there's still time for that Section 3 enforcement. Remember, the Supreme Court said the states can't do it, but maybe the. No, wait, because they already confirmed him.
Right.
When else would you do it? Who knows? Maybe on the 20th. Maybe.
And besides which, we know that since the Supreme Court's the court of last resort, they can change their fucking opinion, right?
That's true.
Stare decisis. It doesn't matter. Super precedent. It's like, listen, we said this on Monday, but it was really inconvenient to us, so we're going to send it. We're going to say something different on Tuesday.
The problem is that we're just stupid.
Yeah.
When they call themselves textualists, they just mean the text of whatever Alito and Roberts is cooking up over there. That's what the text of our opinion.
Did you hear that?
Yes.
You did?
With the Alito conversation?
Yeah.
Oh, it's okay.
It's like, hey, listen, do you have any advice on what flags I could put in my front yard now?
My wife. Them the most?
My wife.
Yeah, my wife.
Yeah. God.
You know what the funniest scandal would be is like 3 years from now, somebody is like telescopic lensing, watching Alito, and he comes out of the house and his wife comes out after with a lady behind her like wheeling her out. She's been like wheelchair bound for like a decade and nobody knew about this. And there's just no way she could put the flag.
Or actually somebody records she's the one telling him to take down the flag. Like, no, Sam, come on, you're a Supreme Court justice. Jesus. Don't do this. No, I'm here for life. God. Yeah, man. That's what I keep running into is that like spiritual exhaustion. I'm thinking he's not even president yet. Luke Beasley was like, do you want to stay in DC and stream the inauguration? I'm like, no, I do not.
Fuck no.
No, exactly.
Is it true? Is it true that it's one of these things that I read has to not be true. We're going to get to one of them. Is it true that he ordered that the flags must be flown at full mast for his inauguration? Or is that...
So he's not... After he becomes president, he can probably issue an order. It's Governor Greg Abbott of Texas. I mean, Trump has been bitching about this, to be sure, but he has no authority at the moment to to revoke President Biden's order. But Governor Greg Abbott, on the other hand, he issued a statement basically defying the president and saying, listen, sucks about Jimmy Carter and all that, but listen, we're having a new day in America, so we're going to put the flag at the appropriate elevation on Inauguration Day. And like, it's a petty thing, but do you ever get the impression that
Trump has no respect for this country?
Well, that Republicans aligned with Trump, like elected Republican leaders, like the shoe's on the other foot. It's a former Republican president who died at age 100, and it's a Democrat who's being inaugurated. Would they rescind this order? Or would they just keep the flags low? They'd probably keep the flag. They actually, Abbott would be like, if Kamala Harris had won the election, Abbott would be like, we're going to keep the flags at half mast for 4 years. Yeah.
At first, out of mourning for the dead Republican president, and then out of mourning for our country, because it's just so sad that the Democrats.
Because communism is here.
Are we there yet? Did we get to communism? I know Obama had 8 years. I think Biden had 4. I feel like we didn't get much closer to it.
Well, we're about to see the end of it because, again, Hegseth, future Defense Secretary Hegseth, and future FBI Director Kash Patel. That's a hearing I'm definitely looking forward to watching. That'll be fun. But yeah, I think they're going to purge communism. That's the whole point of this.
Thank God.
Yeah. I don't know, dude. You told me that Jack Smith dropped a report.
I think he wants to publish 2. He published one yesterday that I stayed awake doom scrolling a little bit.
Instead of grabbing a bite to eat with me. Yeah, let's talk about that.
I got in at 11 o'clock. Okay.
He's like, listen, I'm too tired for this.
Listen,
and then
I got a lot of stuff going on. Okay?
And then I caught you at a different restaurant. I was like, as I was sadly walking by with my pizza to go, I looked through a window and you were like holding court in one of the finest DC cuisines, talking. I could hear you through the window saying, at least Jessiah's not here. Screw that guy.
Boy, it would have been so awkward if you would have caught me with your mom. So,
well, listen, it would have been really awkward because she's been dead for 6 years.
Oh, that's not even true. I never know if you're trolling. No,
it is true. It is true.
That's why it would have been really awkward.
Listen, if
rewind the clip on that.
We get totally dark here. I did see some dust on your shoulder. She was cremated. Can we get that dark here? I don't know what is Joe like freaking out right now that we're making it as
dark as you want. Okay,
perfect.
And listen. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Jack Smith, new information. There's probably some new information. I didn't read it from top to bottom, but I saw in there that the government put in a request to Twitter for a subpoena for information about Trump's Twitter account. And Twitter said, we're going to tell them this. And they're like, well, we have an order saying that you can't do that. And they're like, well, we have no intention of complying with your order. And apparently, Smith noted in the report that this is the first time Twitter's ever done this in the history of all of Twitter. And so they asked the court it was a $50,000 a day. It was $50,000 for the first day, and then they were going to double it every day for a fine, I guess.
So it's like an exponentially increase?
So they wouldn't comply. And after $350,000, Twitter finally complied. I guess they needed 3 days to think about it, really think about it.
Oh, so, well, okay. That still sucks, but they did eventually give over the information?
I imagine that's the implication if they, yeah.
So I haven't had a chance to read it. I saw this morning on Twitter that
a lot of it is redundant information that if you follow my streams or heard anything about
I do. You basically, a little bit. I mean, you're like the world's leading expert. Reportedly, there's a video in the work that I think will be available on January 6, 2029.
It's on its way out. God. I'll have to have it to prevent the next election.
I'll be honest with you. I don't know why I thought this. I just assumed you were going to drop it on this past January 6th.
Well, originally, I think I wanted it way before that.
It could have changed the outcome of the election.
Middle, yeah, 200,000, because I get about 200,000 views of video. That would have been 200,000 voters. It would have all been in swing states. And
yeah, let's talk about that actually for a minute. Do you feel like shit for, bringing fascism into this country by not producing the January 6th video and releasing it? You could have single-handedly. You could have. See, the rest of us can look back and say, did we put our best foot forward? And you, who has done so much to promote the work of democracy, unfortunately, the irony is you won't be able to say that. There's going to be a little bit of doubt in the back of your mind.
Did you watch V for Vendetta?
I did.
Imagine him not showing up at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you are V.
Oh my God. For our canvassing, I should make all of us wear the Guy Fawkes masks. Just the cringiest possible.
I think it should be like Joe Biden masks or something else. What would really offend? Because V, that they would have they might be like, yeah, cool movie.
I was thinking about offending. I was thinking about being really cringy.
No, well, we can find ways to do that and be politically relevant. You should feel really bad about what you've done.
I do.
Yeah.
Feel horrible.
No. But going back to the Jack Smith report, I did see a clip or an excerpt that said, which I assume they would say something like this is almost like fait accompli, that they're confident that had it gotten to trial, they would have been able to convict him based on...
If he wouldn't have been elected president, yeah.
Yeah. Now, don't they have a disproportionately high conviction rate, 80 or 90%?
I want to say it's 90+%, yeah.
Do you share their confidence? This is because I'm curious. I remember when you first started to dive deeply in this, once you looked at the... not subpoenas. What are they called? The indictments and the superseding indictments, that you were pretty confident, he's screwed. If this gets to trial, he's screwed. But given that Trump occupies a unique position, do you think it would have been pretty challenging in the classified documents case or in the January 6th case to secure a conviction from a jury? Like, these are big cases. He's a uniquely polarizing figure. You don't think there could have been a hung jury?
I mean, you're asking me to predict.
Yeah, but you were confident.
Outcome.
You're
I mean, like, on the facts and the merits, assuming there's not like a Trump like sycophant in the jury, 1,000,000,000% easily. Yeah, for sure. But I mean, like, could there be like that one crazy person? I mean, there wasn't in the New York jury.
True.
So,
yeah, it's we're not going to see volume 2, I think, because Cannon blocked it.
Well, yeah, but fuck her. I think they're working on getting that released.
Wouldn't they have to redact a shit ton of it because they're still like his co-defendants who are being prosecuted? Like, I just imagine, like,
are they being there's no way they're being prosecuted. Who would be prosecuting them?
True.
Trump's DOJ.
That's actually a really good point. Do you expect them, like, do you think he'll either pardon them or just order DOJ to withdraw the case?
They'll either stop if they haven't already stopped, or
because they can. I forgot about that.
Peace goes somewhere like, no, I'm sure they'll put their own special counsel and he'll be a Democrat, and I'm sure that I'm sure that they'll continue the investigation just like we did with Hunter Biden.
Honestly, people, everybody should pour one out for Pisco today because he's thinking about there are how many days left in Trump's or in Biden's presidency? What day are we at? 6 days left, and he's like, that's not enough time for Merrick Garland to investigate Biden one more time. Biden,
there's got to be one more set of indictments.
Yeah.
I'm sure, but he's in all those fast cars. You're telling me Merrick's never caught him speeding before?
That's right.
I bet there's a memoir or something where Joe's talked about driving too fast.
If Pisco were here right now, he'd be like, listen, for the sake of our democratic norms, I beseech Attorney General Merrick Garland to appoint a special counsel to investigate these allegations of speeding. God.
I feel like, I'm dooming so hard. It's not good. Be optimistic, okay? Think about what the next...
I can't. No, listen.
Like, what's the next coolest country?
I
was going to say Canada, but that might be America soon.
Yeah, exactly. Our 51st state.
Imagine escaping America, and then that place becomes part of America.
Bro, I got to say, President Sheinbaum of Mexico, I got to say, she's adopting a pretty, like, based posture in terms of, like, trolling Trump. And I think she said that when he was talking about, like, conquering Mexico and making it part of the United States, or renaming the Gulf of Mexico, she was like referring to the United States as northern Mexico and stuff like that. Like, she seems to be, and I imagine it only goes so far because he's going to be the president of the United States. That gives you a lot of leverage. But she seems to be, like, as the Brits would say, taking the piss. Like, she's like mocking him a little bit. Do you think we're going to see a lot of widespread capitulation from world leaders? Because Trump's going to be at the apex of his power. He's going to be more powerful than he ever was. He had unified control of Congress. He had the Supreme Court decision behind him, giving him sweeping immunity for any sort of criminal act that he might undertake. Do you expect, like, world leaders will bow? We've seen a lot of capitulation so far.
You have to some extent, because it's the United States, right? Like, we have so much economic value that saying something stupid on TV and then having your economy getting fucked because Trump decides to target you with some bullshit tariff or whatever would be catastrophic, right? So you're going to have to some extent.
That's the other thing too. Like, it's going to be tough, I think, watching people who probably have enormous contempt for him toe the line. I mean, set world leaders aside, what we've been seeing from social media leaders like Mark Zuckerberg. Like, to me, like, I was spamming this in your chat when you were talking about the other day, you know, Zuckerberg making all these changes to Meta. I think the grossest part for me was when Trump was asked at Mar-a-Lago, like, hey, have you seen these changes? Have you seen Zuckerberg's statement and these changes that he's making to Meta? And Trump said, yeah, I have, and it's going in the right direction. And he was asked point blank, do you think these changes were brought because of your threats against him? And Trump said, probably.
Do you think he's directly responding to the threats that you have made to him in the past?
Probably. Yeah, probably.
To me, that's like the biggest like scandal of the whole thing. It's not even just the changes on the merits, but that Trump is publicly saying he believes those changes are a product of him threatening to jail the person making the changes. Like, we just don't give a shit.
Yeah. So I shit on Zuck a lot because it triggered the out of me to see everybody bending the knee. Mm-hmm. And then I made did you see the big tweet I made about it?
No.
I made a big tweet about it. I don't know why you're not reading all of my tweets. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Because people who are less cool than me, like Pisco, get far more retweets from you, and it's bullshit.
I retweet you and you pop up. But
I should be popping up, like, you should be seeking me out.
Looks like Musk is going after you.
Yeah.
I got an email from a guy, and this is what inspired me to make that really big tweet.
Maybe I did read it.
Maybe you did.
Can you give me a hint? Or are you going to read it now?
Can I give you what?
A hint.
Oh, no, I'm just going to read the email.
Okay. The email or the tweet?
The email
Okay,
that I got.
Sorry.
He said, "Hey, Stephen." He said, "Donald Trump threatened Mark Zuckerberg with life in jail. And now he's openly bragging about how Meta's new policies are probably a result of that." And then he links the story that you're referring to where Trump was asked, "Do you think that Zuckerberg is responding to your threats?" He's like, "Yeah, probably." This is the most authoritarian shit in recent American history, and the media is covering it completely wrong, in my opinion, because nobody is talking about it. Nobody in tech circles here is talking about it. It's all, oh, I guess Zuck is MAGA now. None of my coworkers at Meta, fuck it, I hope they doesn't get fired, are aware that this happened.
First and last name at the end of the email, please.
They're just a mix of... That actually makes his name so much more funny. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
H1B. Nobody in tech circles here is talking about it. It's all, oh, I guess Zuck is MAGA now. None of my coworkers at Meta are aware that this happened. There's just a mix of sad/uninterested people in the new policies. Meta is censoring any criticisms of these new policies in internal forums, and me posting information about the threat. Not unexpected, to be honest. The dominant narrative against prominent lefties like this esteemed gentleman is decrying Zuck, calling him spineless, which he is, I suppose. I'm kind of just complaining to you about your tweet because the emphasis is in the wrong place. I'm in the a kingdom lost for want of being a bit nicer to fragile tech bros camp. So I don't think we should be bashing Zuck if possible. Oh, he's a little bit of a Zuck simp, I guess. But the broader point is that we lost this battle badly, and Trump's getting away with new lows again and again. We might have won this one by collectively going apeshit when the threat was first made and having major Democrats stand up for Zuck. But we couldn't have done that because TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. There's more 5-alarm fires like the North Carolina Supreme Court stuff and the Seltzer lawsuit. The Seltzer lawsuit. You know what? Hot take. I'll write we should write an amicus brief and support Trump on that one. Seltzer. She should be punished for that horrible poll.
For giving us
because of
hope.
what she did to us.
Like,
I support Trump in that lawsuit.
Listen, on principle, this is terrible. But on the other hand, lady, you gave us some serious false hope.
What were you doing? Yeah. But to go back, I feel like I'm saying this every day. It is astounding that, remember, the Twitter files came out, no direct FBI anything. However, just the fact that the FBI might send you an email, that's enough to say that was pressure. Remember how many times the implied pressure? Nick Rekieta said this to me. I think the Good Logic, he said it to me. So many people said that. Just the idea that you can even get an email. I think Rob Noor might have that position. An email from the FBI might be pressure. But if you were to ask these guys, what do you think about Trump on Truth Social saying that these guys would go to prison for life?
They don't care. Yeah,
well, he's saying if they're doing anything illegal, so it shouldn't matter, right? Like, oh, that's not pressure. Like, and then the second, one of the largest, because he owns the other one, basically, right? X, and now Facebook is capitulating to 4 years of Donald Trump in the office, and thank God, no fact checkers. Seriously?
Yeah. So to me, this we shouldn't be as frustrated by the hypocrisy as we are. I'm trying to train myself to not give a shit about this because clearly they don't. I genuinely believe that they delight in their hypocrisy. I think they
do. I read that on my subreddit. But the difference between liberals and conservatives is that liberals doom scroll and conservatives just think it's all fucking hilarious.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think they love the fact that they simultaneously, cynically complain about, liberal, censorious nature. And then when you throw, because I like Piers Morgan is to me like the weather vane for this. And Mehdi Hassan confronted Piers about this, he used the Ann Selzer lawsuit in particular. And Piers said, well, does he have a right to sue her?
I think either him or somebody else said that.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. What show was I on? Somebody was like, oh, well, Trump has the right to sue, doesn't he? And it's like, or I might have even been watching Tim Pool and Luke, who, let's just take 1 second. What is Luke, like 21? 22?
Yeah.
Newish to internet content, a couple years, steps into the lion's den with like fucking 5 or 6. There was one time where the camera changed. I was like, who is this guy? There's like another conservative.
Yeah, they actually like wheeled somebody else. They're like, shit, we have some real estate here. Yeah.
And and I'm like, and simultaneously, I would like to blaze Luke for, I don't know if this is intentional or if it was just his demeanor. Okay. But it was so funny that because and I'm not making fun of him, but he has kind of, I don't know if I would say like an aloof demeanor. Very. I was really worried watching Tim go on that rant about whatever. And Luke was just kind of like sitting there kind of like looking and not interrupting. I'm like, oh, Luke doesn't know any of the facts on this. And I just remember by the 6 or 7 minute end of this, Luke was like, wait, you're going to admit that all of you guys were completely and totally wrong on all of that, right?
I don't think I was wrong.
You didn't know. You didn't read it. You didn't read the court papers. Communications? What communications? What did he say? What did he do?
Oh my God! Like, listen to this guy.
Enrique Tarrio crafted a memo outlining who they.
Tim is discovering this live. Oh no!
So are you gonna at all acknowledge that you just blew up over something that I was absolutely citing fairly?
He's 22 years old, and he's in a room with 4 other people that sit here and do these stupid shows every single day, and not a single one of these disgusting Russian puppet treasonous not a single one of them even knows enough to give the bullshit counter arguments, let alone the actual fact. Oh, who the f- is this guy? How many conservatives did they have to roll up for this kid?
And then they move on. Yeah, I mean,
There were like 5 of them in there, and after Tim does this whole thing about like, you don't know the facts, you don't know the case, you haven't read anything, you're just giving it a liberal, blah 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 blah. And then Luke's like, well, let's go read this. And then to watch Tim, by the way, go through the fucking Wikipedia on a federal conviction, where there are like. To watch somebody try to figure out what somebody's charged with a crime for and not just Google the charging document when it's like it's an insanely public federal case. And they're like, well, what's the evidence for this? I was like, he was convicted, you moron, right? It's not just a tweet. But Luke eviscerated.
he killed it.
It was insane.
My favorite part, the one that went the most viral was that moment. It was the first, like the 3-minute clip of just like Tim screaming at Luke. That was the thing that went viral. Then Benny Johnson, for some dumb reason, presumably because he didn't watch the end of his own clip,
Or because he was getting paid by somebody at the Kremlin, but go ahead.
potentially, comrade. By the way, you did this thing. I don't know if it's Tim Pool. You did this thing the other day, and I was listening to you. I had you in my back pocket. I think I was at the gym, and it was Dave Smith or somebody. That's who it was. Anytime he would speak, I heard like music in the background. I kept thinking like I was sitting, like it was like, is this an ad or something?
Oh, no, that's just what he sounds like when he talks.
Right. You're playing.
That's what he sounds like when he talks.
These Russian anthems. But anyway, yeah. So at the end of that 7-minute clip that Benny Johnson shared is exactly what you were talking about. Them fact checking themselves in real time, and you can just see Tim wilt. And that's when Luke says, are we just gonna skip over what you said? But to me, the funnier one, and it's petty, because anybody could have made this mistake, was a few minutes later. They were talking about allegations against prominent conservatives, like, for example, Pete Hegseth, who has been accused of sexual misconduct. And Tim Pool goes on this whole spiel. He's like, do you believe so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-so? And then he drops another name. And he meant to say Christine Blasey Ford, who was the woman who accused Brett Kavanaugh, current Supreme Court justice. But he f***ed up her name. Again, anybody could do this. He's like, do you believe Christine Hoff Sommers? And Luke says, wait, which one was that? And he said that was the woman who accused Brett Kavanaugh. He's like, oh, yeah, I believe her. And he's like, do you remember all this and that? And Luke said the responsible thing. He's like, well, listen, if we're going to debate that, I'd want to brush up on the facts and everything, blah, blah, blah. And Tim ends it with, the difference between conservatives and liberals is, knowing what you're talking about. But he f***ed up her name. And so to me, it's like, that's like to be the ultimate Tim Pool microcosm there, like going out of your way to lecture somebody on how much they know or don't know, and you get even their fucking name wrong.
Christine Hoff Sommers, she was popular for all of a hot minute as like the anti-feminist or something, right? I remember her, yeah. I can't believe there were so many stupid things. He tried to lecture him on, you don't know anything about defamation per se or whatever, and Tim didn't even know what that meant, and he gave an incorrect assessment of what that even meant. And then he did he ran through the gamut of every false fact he knew about every case. Do you know about Ahmaud Arbery or whatever? And then he went to the George Floyd, and then he's just. You want to know what makes me the most angry about Tim? Why I wouldn't feel bad seeing him like locked up for the crimes that he's committing against my country. You know what made me the most angry about Tim? And I think it's the most scathing indictment of their character. You've seen the Tim Pool thing. Ukraine is the enemy of the people. We owe Russia to or whatever bullshit. Did you know that Tim was on the ground during Euromaidan in 2014?
No,
Did I ever say? He has a whole Reddit thread where he's doing an AMA about Euromaidan, and he's answering questions. They're like, oh, what's it like? Then he's like, I'm on the ground. There's a lot of genuine fervor from the people. There's like hundreds of thousands of people out here. And they're like, oh, like, does it seem like are there so many specific questions that he'll like be completely contradictory to today. They're like, oh, is there far right protests? Whatever. He's like, there's like a few people that are trying to stir shit up, but like for the most part, no, it's just a ton of people. And he's like, why are they protesting? And it's like they have genuine angst because the leader seemed like he wanted to go pro Russia, and the people of Ukraine wanted to be pro Europe. Like he knew all of this. Not only did he know it all, he knew it all like as he was on the ground reporting about it 10 years ago, I guess when he was a contractor for Vice. And to see him 180 completely today because the money's there for it is so fucking disgusting to me.
I mean, it's sad, but he's hardly the only like formerly credible journalist. Like Matt Taibbi is another great example. You want to talk about a guy who's just, I mean, he's just killed his own credibility. Michael Schellenberger, you know.
I don't know, man. I spoke with somebody about Schellenberger a while ago. I wonder sometimes if these guys were ever good or if they just got really lucky with some story.
Possible. Yeah, it's possible. I mean, like, I know Taibbi was, you know, I don't want to say a household name, but he was like pretty reputable as far as journalists were concerned. But like, you want to talk about a guy who's just become like a token conservative, you know, mouthpiece. I mean, I am not aware of a position. And again, maybe they're out there because I don't like follow his account, but I'm not aware of a major conservative position when it comes to speech that Taibbi and Schellenberger don't simp for. I mean, Schellenberger is out here like taking the conservative position on the LA wildfires, right? Just like, the budget was cut and like all this shit. And so like, there's just no limiting principle. And
Anna Kasparian. Sorry, go ahead.
Bro. Oh, hey, I will say.
No, wait. Finish what you were saying though. There's no limiting principle. And then
well, no, it's just that there's no limiting principle. Sad to see, you know, and that's where I'm curious. Like, is it not possible if you genuinely believe that a conservative had a valid position on free speech in a specific issue? Like maybe you really believe that the Biden administration, you know, overstepped the blurred line of, you know, a dialogue with social media companies versus over government pressure, because it's not like an easily demarcated line. That's fine. But why is it that you don't just stop there? What is it about these people that prompts them to then start to simp for every major Republican position? Like, I'm not aware, I guess, of what I'm saying of a principled critic of the Democratic Party that doesn't, unless you're Mehdi Hassan or Waja Ali or others like that don't like then start to take up just bread and butter conservative issues.
I don't know what does it. It's probably because there's a lot of reward and audience capture on that side.
Believe it or not, I went through that's why I was smiling when we were talking 3 hours ago about Tim Pool. Feels like 3 hours ago, because I actually went through a phase after Trump's election where I was a Tim Pool, Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson simp. But I never went through a communist phase. Yeah.
What, like in 2016?
2017.
Wait, how old are you again?
33.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'd only ever voted Democrat. And I'd always was an outspoken liberal. I despised Trump, voted for Hillary. But then after he got elected, and I think this is the power of algorithms and like echo chambers. I was doing a lot of debate on message boards and shit like that over politics, Star Wars, whatever. And so debate and prominent debaters, that was a big deal. It was funny because I hadn't heard of you until later on, but everybody knew about Ben Shapiro, right? Watch Ben Shapiro dunk on this person. So you start watching some Ben Shapiro videos, and then it introduces you to Tim Pool, and then You Can't Cuck the Tuck, volume 42.
Wait, but you were actually conservative-ish?
No. So I still was only ever voting for Democrats, but I was very envious of that space. I was damn, we need our own Ben Shapiro. Damn, we need our own Tucker Carlson. And every time Tucker Carlson would bring on, some dipshit straw liberal to make fun of, I was like, God, we suck. We liberals suck. Look at this. We're getting humiliated. And then Tim Pool, he did this Joe Rogan podcast with the top lawyer at Twitter under Jack Dorsey. Do you remember this? Do you remember this? 2018, 2017, 2018?
Maybe.
Where he kind of read her the riot act, and I was actually enamored. I was like, damn, he's a liberal taking the principled stance of criticizing his own side for free speech. And anytime somebody would say, listen, he says he's a liberal, but come on, I would say, no. He's doing the Jordan Peterson, because I also liked Jordan Peterson at the time. He's doing the Jordan Peterson thing. He's keeping his own house in order. And that's what you're supposed to do. Conservatives should be policing their side. We should be policing our side. This is good and noble. Tim Pool is doing noble liberal work. And it took a friend really to get through to me about where my priorities were, snap me out of it. But it was a good year. Trump was president. Trump was the most powerful man in the world, and I gave more of a fuck about what AOC was tweeting on Like, it's bullshit. And that's why I'm so, I try to come from like a position of empathy with this because I get it, but that's why I'm so hard on people who are like, yeah, sure, Trump's the most powerful man in the world, but what about this random Democratic like congressperson? It's like, no, it's actually really stupid to be more concerned about what a freshman Democrat who has to share power with 534 other people say, and not what the president of the United States says. There's no rational basis. You know, you should be more fixated on what people who have more power say. So that's why I'm so vicious about it now. Because like I was that guy.
I still firmly believe that I hold the fans a lot less accountable than the media people, like the leaders, I guess. Yeah, because like you said, however powerful the algorithms were back then, it's 100x more now.
Bro.
Because now it's not just algorithms. Now it's also like all of your hobbies are all part of that as well, right? There's no break from politics in any part of your life, it seems.
Yeah, but it's interesting though, because like, and again, like I'm so boomer when it comes to tech, and part of it is I just don't have the attention span or the interest to really dive into it. So I just defer to people in conversation who know more about it. But what's interesting about the algorithm at the time was it didn't introduce me to you or Pacman or Vosh or Brian Tyler Cohen or Sam Cedar. Like I had no idea any of these people existed, even though you would think I was consuming political content and I was watching political debates. Why not throw that extra millimeter and give me some of the liberal contemporaries? You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't.
I understand what you're saying. I
it
think
didn't,
that
it didn't
there's some
recommend
fault
you
with
all
the
to me.
algorithm, but I also think there's I'm having like a metaphysical existential crisis. I'm sorry.
No, it's
there's
okay.
like this concept of like the world that you exist in is largely, it's created in the mind, right? And then the mind creates it based on the things that you perceive, right? But we don't perceive most of the country or the world or even the city we live in. We go by what's on the news.
Right.
And so what we see and what we're fed becomes the reality or the world that we think we inhabit. So when you're blaming the algorithm, or I'm not accusing you of it, but like you're blaming the algorithm for not feeding you the correct content, but that's also part of the intentional conservative strategy as well. If you were the biggest, baddest, I thought about this over the past like 6 months to a year, but I didn't extend this that far back, but I should have actually. If you're the biggest and baddest debater, why wouldn't you like line up liberals and just crush them? Why would you only debate high schoolers and college kids?
Right.
Like, that's pathetic.
Yeah.
Like, and it says a lot about you. Did you ever play any video games at all or not really?
I mean, a bit. Like, I'm right now going through my second Witcher 3 full.
When you
full
play
playthrough.
like online competitive games, there are things called ladders that rank you and you match against other people.
Yeah, I played Halo. So like, it's like not even Call of Duty, but I played Halo where you would do like ranked matches, and so it would try to match you with people like comparable like skill level and rank. Yeah.
You know what I just realized is conservatives are like Smurfs that act like they're the top of the ladder.
What's a Smurf?
A Smurf is a guy who just creates a new account to go and farm, to go and beat up a whole bunch of basically new players.
Gotcha.
And these are funny streams.
Are they the guys that like hang out in like the starter areas? And
Yeah,
just, like,
basically,
one shot?
yeah. And they're funny to watch, and some people will even support it because it's so funny. But like, I think a lot of people look down on these people. It's like, one, you're ruining the experience for other people because now they're introduced to this game, they're getting destroyed. And two, you think you're way better than you actually are. There's a reason why you avoid people of your own skill level and you just go to farm noobs. It's because you have no idea how to actually play at a high level.
Right.
And I just realized that the entire conservative media circuit is based on this concept of being a really good player, when in reality they're just smurfing constantly. Because if you think about all the famous debates and everything that Ben Shapiro and everybody did, it was all college kids. It was all owning college kids.
Yeah.
And if you think about when they try to do like real conversations, Jordan Peterson thinking that he could prepare for a debate against Zizek by just reading the Communist Manifesto is probably one of the greatest examples of stupidity I've ever seen in my entire life. And it demonstrates an unbelievable amount of hubris and a lack of knowing what you don't know. Do you know what the Communist Manifesto like largely was?
Mm-hmm.
Like it was kind of like the for dummies version for peasants to understand communism. Zizek is regardless of how you feel about it,
he's a scholar. Yeah,
a real ass dude. That guy's read a lot. He's a smart guy. How the fuck are you going to read the Communist Manifesto and go and debate Zizek on?
Well, yeah,
communism?
like even if it's the most seminal work, like there's a whole scholarship associated with it. But you know, it's funny because like Jordan Peterson's interesting to me. Well, he's not now, but he was interesting to me at the time because like where he came to my attention was the Channel 4 conversation with the Kathy Newman. So you're saying, and I mean, clearly she was a bad faith interviewer. There's no question about it. And he was much saner than he is now. Like he was, much more charitable, much more magnanimous. Now, some people say, well, this is this is the inevitable consequence of being taken out of, context so many times. But I feel like it's actually not that. Like he did a GQ interview like a year later and he was a bit more combative. But the guy we see now, like openly shilling for working for the Daily Wire and stuff like this, he is just more openly partisan in a way that we've never seen. And as somebody who is openly partisan, I don't take issue. That's my beef with Piers Morgan. I just want Morgan to come out and admit that you're a Trump supporter. I don't think that makes you, necessarily like in terms of your content, like terrible or whatever. Just don't cling to the aesthetic of being, this just tell it like it is kind of guy. You have your biases. They're a matter of public record and own it. My problem is so many people, and particularly on the right, because I don't see people on the left do this as much, if any, which is that they are openly simping for one side, but they are so horny. Like, no. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Trump supporter. I just say it like it is. And watching him really go in that direction was like an eye opener, because I even bought his 12 rules for, like, not only did I buy his book, I recommended my father buy it. Like, that's how much of a fan of his I was at the time. So that's my shame.
It might be worth it to go back and rewatch that Kathy Newman debate.
Yeah.
One of the things that Jordan Peterson does is such a trap. And from the outside, it looks like the other interviewer is being bad faith and horrible. But Peterson is so good at like laying these like breadcrumbs up to a thing, but he won't actually make the strong statement at the end.
He won't own a position. Like, think about it. Like, what is the meme? Like, whenever they ask him, like, do you believe in God?
Yeah, but the God one is especially stupid. But I'm just saying that, like, he'll do description with no prescription. He'll say, like, women don't get along with men at the workplace. Women wear makeup to attract men and be sexual. Everything's gotten worse with women in the workplace. And so Kathy Newman was like, so are you saying that women shouldn't be there? Like, well, I've never said that in my entire life. You can't find me ever. And then
even though it's a necessary implication.
Yeah,
almost,
even though that is basically exactly where he's leading you to. Yeah, it's very annoying. Yeah.
Have you like retroacted? Because I know you used to, I won't say defend him, but you gave him more credibility than a lot of people in the space, like for the longest time. Do you like retroactively look back on it?
For Jordan Peterson?
Yeah.
The only credibility I think I've almost ever given him is that prior to the C16 shit. Yeah, I think it was like pretty good.
That's what that's what I'm saying. Like, has it caused you, because you just said going back and revisiting that Kathy Newman interview?
Well, that wasn't prior to C16, right? That was after.
Yeah.
That's when his brain started to break.
So basically, when he came into the public fore, that's when you think the transformation started.
The C16 shit destroyed his mind. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember when Canadians were supposed to be rounding people up into?
Yeah, I think there was a subreddit named like arrests from C16 or something, and like
a big subreddit.
Like 000. Yeah,
there's a lot of threads there, a lot of arrests under C16.
No, it's just that was the name. It's a joke.
No, I know. Yeah. And I'm asking like I'm curious, like how many? Like,
yeah. I think that the all of the federal agencies that were supposed to arrest people came down to America and arrested them for posting anti-liberal stuff on Twitter instead, and that's why I thank God Elon Musk saved us from that.
Bro, did you see that? It was Bloomberg reported that they're thinking about selling to avoid the ban. They're thinking about selling TikTok to Elon Musk.
I don't think that'll ever happen, but we'll see.
What would prevent it? Wouldn't it be antitrust regulation?
No, I don't know why ByteDance would sell it unless there's something I'm not considering. Why would you give that to such a competitor in the U.S.?
But if, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't like the U.S. like their biggest market? So if there's a ban here, won't that fuck ByteDance? ByteDance? What'd you call it?
ByteDance.
Yeah.
The rest of the world market is larger than just the U.S., but ByteDance is not going to divest to TikTok. TikTok's not going to run independently. That'll never happen. ByteDance wants control of it. And so if they were to divest or sell it,
so it'd still be better for them to just eat the U.S. ban than to sell it to Elon Musk.
Depends what you mean when you say better for them.
Financially.
I don't know if it's just a financial consideration.
Gotcha.
If you're looking at it from the Chinese control aspect.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then if you're looking at it from like a national security standpoint, and then if you're looking at it from like an economic decision standpoint, it might be better financially to sell it to an American company, but it might be stronger from a NatSec, like from this idea of like, fuck the US, like even if we can make money selling it to X or Meta, we're not going to, fuck them. We'll just let it die. I think they did it in India. India banned TikTok and they pulled the plug on it there, and TikTok they didn't sell to anybody there, and they had a much larger market there, although not as wealthy of a user base, but
Second biggest population in the world. If you let's just grant the premise, then let's just take the reporting at face value. What would stop Musk, like, because I assume he could generate the capital to buy TikTok, right? Presumably. What would stop that from going through? Would it be like,
if they wanted to sell it, then somebody will buy it. There will be a big buyer in the U.S.
What could Musk do? Because basically, like, again, I haven't dove too deeply into it, but like somebody said that it could violate like antitrust because he already controls Twitter. You know, would it be like a monopoly or whatever? Like,
I don't know how much antitrust we do for tech companies. It doesn't feel like we do any. So I don't know.
I was just kind of skeptical on it because I'm like, it'll be Trump's antitrust people and Musk's
that
top
too.
allies.
But I mean, like Facebook owns Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp.
But the FTC is like going after them right now. Like there's pending litigation. Like they're facing lawsuits on that very issue. And of course, I expect.
Sure, but like, why would Facebook even be allowed to buy Instagram? I know this is a long time ago, but what the fuck? That even at the time, it was a pretty big acquisition.
Wasn't it under Trump that happened?
Oh, maybe actually. Are we still? Are we working on the YouTube audio or?
Yeah, I'm not sure. They said it was Obama. It was under Obama.
Yeah, okay, yeah, because it was a long time ago, that acquisition.
Damn. That's an L, Mr. President.
Yeah, I haven't dug into like antitrust stuff at all. I don't understand how it feels like every tech company is involved in some form of like monopolization that's like way past the line. So I don't know how any of it works.
Aren't you wanting to bring the boot of the federal government on these tech companies now after the tenant media stuff and you become blackpilled, right?
Yeah, but the tenant media stuff wasn't having anything to do with monopolies. That was just FAR violations, and I can't believe any of those guys can show their face. That would be like the end of your career.
Sure.
Maybe not for the four smaller ones. I am more sympathetic because the deals might have been like more in the realm of possibility, but $5 million. No shot. That's just insane to me.
The notion of like what would kill a Democrat's career versus a Republican, again, that's something that tortures me more than is productive, but like I'm obsessed with it. Like
when Al Franken had the pictures come out and he quit the Senate and Donald Trump was...
Democrats called for Franken to resign.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't just Republicans, Democrats did. And but beyond that, like even like the wildfires in California to me are a great example. Do you know, like we're just seeing a steady drip of Republicans come out and say we shouldn't provide disaster relief unless there are political concessions or political conditions attached to it. And that's just so fucking triggering to me because it's like, we don't do that. You know, some reply guy was like, oh, well, Jessiah, I swear you're dead wrong because in 2017, Democrats said that they would back a Republican bill to raise the debt ceiling and provide federal aid for Hurricane Harvey. But then you find out Republicans, number one, controlled both chambers and the White House, so it wasn't like Democrats could block the deal. Number two, Republicans were the ones who wanted to attach a debt ceiling hike under Trump to Hurricane Harvey relief. So it was their idea. Democrats just said, hey, listen, we'll back it if your fiscal hawks like refuse to play along in exchange for a shorter window. So like even the closest analog they can find is not Democrats, blocking relief to these red states. And
which states do you think need more federal disaster relief? It's probably red ones,
states,
right? Because of all the hurricanes and shit.
100%. And that's what I'm saying. Like, and I don't know what the solution to that is because some people are saying, and I get it, like, okay, like I think it was Jared Moskowitz said, you know what? Don't do this because if you do this, as soon as Democrats take power, we'll do the same thing. They won't do that. I do not believe for a second that Democrats would ever play games with federal assistance, even if it would be in their political interest to do so. And so what incentive is there for Republicans to stop doing what they're doing? They know that if they ever lose power, Democrats won't do to them what they do to Democrats. Mm-hmm. What's the incentive for Republicans to change?
Yeah. Okay, I think we're going to restart the stream in a bit because they're going to check it. They're going to check their stuff.
I'm going to pee.
We'll hopefully, by the when we figure this all out, we'll restart the confirmation so we can at least listen through it. So we'll be back.